to the Mike and JD Show YouTube channel. Thank you for being here. I want you to do me a big favor before you check out this clip. I want you to hit the like button. I want you to throw in a comment and make sure you're a subscriber to this channel. And then I want you to share this video with your friends. Help us defeat the algorithm. And then if you like this content and you appreciate this content, please head over to patreon.com/the Mike and JD Show and support the show. That is how we actually get funded to be able to do this. So we thank you very much for being here. And now enjoy the clip. The other big news, we had this other big news, and I'm going to get into that. Mike Santana has signed a full-time contract. You know, it was not reported, but speculated that he was probably a per date guy because he's another guy that's like working everywhere. And he just gotten out of that long contract with AEW. And so I think a lot of people assumed that he was probably a per date guy. So when I saw him come in, I figured he's a per date guy. And in fact, he's already missing Under Siege. She's not going to be there. He had other bookings. But it looks like they were able to get the deal done. You know, Anthony Chon and Ariel Schneer got him in. He is locked in. He is now a full-time talent, I guess, once he cleans up some of his dates that he had already booked. But with him being on contract and how he looked at Rebellion, and I thought he looked great at the taping last night too. I thought he looked great on Impact. Guy's just got a lot of energy. He's got top guy energy. You know what I mean? Like there's something about this guy that screams like he could be a top guy in TNA. Not anywhere else. I think TNA specifically, he could be a top guy. Because you know, smaller company. And I think the top talent there are compatible with him. I think he could work well with them. And we saw what he did with Maclin. I thought that was a great match. And honestly, if Maclin probably didn't like knock himself loopy, they probably would have had a much better match. Now, it has not been reported that Maclin got a concussion during that match, but it kind of looked like it. Because then after that, everything got clunky. But even so, I still thought that the two worked well together. And I think we're going to see them working again sometime soon. But you know, he's from the Bronx, right? A big New York guy. And I think that if they go into the Hammerstein this year, I think it's a possibility that he's on top with Moose during that. Because he's already like, you know, behind, like he's right up there with Josh and Nemeth. So they have like their big three baby faces, right? It's Nemeth, it's Josh Alexander, and now it's Santana. And then everybody else is kind of like, you know, you got your like middle tier, you got your PCOs. You got Eric Young, you know, guys like that. Everybody else is just kind of like hanging out in the middle card, you know, and some of them might get a title shot. Most of them won't, like Jake something, guys like that, Speedball. So, you know, Speedball probably will get a title shot in an episode of television. Because he can have a good match, you know, like they'll just like, we have Speedball. Let's let him have a good match, you know. So I'd put Santana like already like probably in that number 2 or number 3 babyface role behind. Oh yeah, Broken Matt now. Yeah, and I'll talk about Matt in a minute, but yeah, he's probably like right up there in that top 4 babyface range. You know, move up and down depending on what they're doing. But if they're going to go into New York City or at the Manhattan Center at the Hammerstein Ballroom in Manhattan, New York, you got a kid from the Bronx right there that's got a ton of buzz and a ton of energy behind him. You know, you might want to try to go for it. You might want to try to get him in on that main event. Everybody's like, you know, do you see him as an X Division guy? No, I don't. I think he's too big. Not that there's a weight limit, but I look at the guy like he's beefed up, got ab. He was bigger than Maclin, right? And the promos are like outstanding. The guy's he's a passionate guy. I think you go world heavyweight title with him. I don't know if you put the belt on him, but I think that's like he's in that mix. I don't see him mixing it up with fucking Ace Austin. You know what I mean? I think like he's got top guy energy. And I've said that, and that this is not new on this show. I've said that for years about him, even when he was in AEW, and I was super impressed by him whenever he was in TNA. He was just like too skinny, too small. Yeah, it's so funny. Whenever he was in TNA before, he kind of looked like Myron Reed. Like they have like similar look and they had like similar haircuts. And now and then last night they wrestled and it was pretty funny. It was like Santana wrestling his former self, which I thought was kind of a funny visual. But um, so yeah, Santana is in. I am super stoked about it. I think that they have a guy now that they could probably get behind, a guy that's hungry, looking to rebuild his career, looking to prove a lot of doubters wrong, and looking to establish himself as a main event talent. And he probably knows that the only place he can be able to do that is right here in TNA. And so he is home for a while. Now they said that he signed a contract. Who knows? It like we thought that the Motor City Machine Guns were in for years, and their contract was for a year. so it maybe Santana only signed for 1 year or maybe like 18 months or something like that. So who knows how long he has signed for. If you're a wrestler and you think that you can make it as a top talent, you probably aren't signing a very long-term deal. But if you're TNA, like, you know, you probably should try to get him, you know, on 3 to 5, but he might be signed for anywhere probably for under 3. And that's gonna be tough because they have such a churn. Lots of people coming and going in this company, so it's really hard to keep your established names. You're always plugging holes, right? Or always putting band-aids on stuff, especially on some of these cards they got. Like some of them get a little bit weak. But and then the next guy, Steve Maclin, he has re-signed with the company. It is official. It came out on Thursday. He has put pen to paper again. Anthony Ciccione and Ariel Schneer has gotten the deal done. And chalk one up for the new regime. They were able to get Maclin, and a lot of me included, a lot of people thought that Maclin was a goner whenever he leaked that information to Fightful, and it was him. Because guess who got the scoop that he had re-signed? He was live on In the Weeds with Joel Pearl over on Fightful, and they got the scoop. And of course, Sean Ross Sapp had to interject himself and put him in the show, but that's the way it goes. He's the boss, right? So, but yeah, they got the scoop that he had re-signed, and Gerard, big new distribution deal, got the scoop. When asked why Maclin re-signed, he said, "Money and freedom," and hell yeah, sir, fuck yeah. I'm happy for Mac. I'm happy for TNA. Now here's the thing. They re-signed him and they immediately had him jobbed to Santana, so that kind of pisses me off. But they're trying to get here's the structure of the company. The champion is a heel, and so they got to build up contenders for the champion. If the champion were a babyface, you'd probably Maclin goes over because they need contenders for the babyface. But since that champion is a heel, you know, Maclin has got to get the new babyface shined up to go take on Moose down the road, right? And so that's just the unfortunate position he's in. He is not the top heel in the company. He is probably, you know, number 2 behind Moose as far as singles heels. Hold on, swig of coffee for the heels. Oh, check this bad boy out. Yeah, I don't fuck around when it comes to my coffee mug's got a new one. Put my name on that shit. All right. So yeah, Steve Maclin is signed. He's in for a few years, and I think that it is time. The problem is there's only the one championship, and they seem to be focused on the system, and I think they want to try to turn them into the bloodline a little bit. So even though I get the feeling that Josh Alexander is going to get a title shot at Slammiversary, and probably Santana, like if I'm just forecasting, Santana gets a title shot at Bound for Glory. I don't even think Moose loses at either one of those pay-per-views. And so I think they're trying to do like a little bit of a bloodline. They're keeping the system strong, which is good. Problem is this is not working. Ticket sales are down. Ratings are in the toilet. Pay-per-view buys down 89%, you know, or 83%, whatever it was. Maybe it'll work later. Maybe you're sacrificing now to get something to work later, but it's not working now. At some point, you got to cut bait and go a different direction. But they're keeping them strong. And so that means Macklin's probably not going to be the top guy there, and I think he should be the top guy. And you guys know this. Like I've been telling you guys this for a long time. He's that good. He really is. And if they're not going to go with him as a heel, then they need to flip him babyface. And I think once they flip him babyface, I think it's off to the races there, because he's got a lot more charisma than Josh. He does. And his Josh is like the better in-ring worker, but I don't think Maclin's like that far behind him. I don't. I think Maclin's really good. They should have a different style. Josh is like, they get a 5-star match style, and Macklin's is not. Macklin's super intense, right? And makes his shit believable. Like he's a really good wrestler. I think if any company got behind him, he would get over. Just finding the right company to get behind him, and he's here locked in at TNA, and so hopefully they can get their stuff together and really get behind this guy, because I really do think he's got something special. I really do. And maybe I'm just biased. There's probably some of that. And I acknowledge that I have a little bit of bias to not only like I have a little bit of bias towards military guys, but I can also acknowledge that some people just aren't going to make it at the top. Like, like the infantry in AEW, like I like those guys. Right. I probably like them more than most people, and I want to see them get an opportunity. But I also acknowledge that they're probably not ever going to get to the level of the Bucks and FTR, which most teams aren't, and there's been other military guys and girls that have come and gone. Like I knew that Lacey, well, I can't remember what her name was in WWE. She just got fired last year, and she's basically a retiree now. She was a Marine. I knew like I wanted her to get a shot early on, and I started watching her stuff, and didn't take too long for me to realize, yeah, she's probably not going to be like a top female there. And when she got released, I don't think anybody was all that surprised. So, and so I can acknowledge when someone from the military is probably like I don't need to be die hard for them. But Maclin, I think he's special. I really do. And he really could be a something for these guys. Like I think he could be like, right up there with Bobby Roode and James Storm and then some of their top and I consider him a homegrown talent, because he just never he had that NXT run. He was there for a while, but that was more like training school. They didn't really do anything with him. He was in like a good tag team, but they never really made it, and they never really gave him promo time, and he didn't really do anything as a single. So I think I think he really is a homegrown TNA talent, as weird as it sounds. But I thought that about EC3 and Eli Drake, even though they came through the WWE system first. I always looked at them as TNA products because that's where they made it. That's where they got over. So that's how I look at Maclin.